Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, as we've heard from Fiona, why don't we introduce Fiona? That would be nice, because she's our first guest, so it'd be lovely to hear from her. And it shows you how well produced this show is, that we flow seamlessly through an email about CRB.
We do well.
We do incredibly well. So it seamlessly flows into our first guest. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome for the very first time onto the Business Bunker show the lovely Fiona Mason from Outset UK.
Hello.
Fiona, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Bunker show. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your organisation, Outset, and then we're going to find out a little bit about you as well.
Oh dear. Okay. So Outset is a people, legal and health and safety organisation. I do the people stuff.
Right.
My people do the people stuff.
Cool. Your people.
Mm-hmm. We generally work with smaller organisations, and that's what gives me the kicks, really. A lot of us have worked with bigger organisations and trying to translate that for smaller companies and to make a real difference to what they do is really exciting.
Absolutely. I was talking about this earlier on the HR show with some HR professionals, and we were talking to a lady that runs the master's program at the University of Kent on HR management. And I was saying that the interesting thing is in business at the moment is that HR has never been everybody's most favourite department in big corporates, because
Why would it be?
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things, isn't it? But increasingly now, the world has changed, and over the last 5 years, we've created 3 million new jobs in the UK, and nearly all of them are with SMEs, and SMEs don't have HR departments. Which is where a company like yours really does kick in, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And you know as well as I do that in my own business we use you guys for our HR support and needs. So it's what you guys are doing is really, really important now, especially in that SME marketplace.
Yeah, and also being able to have the slice of the bit of the person that you need when you need it, without having to have that person sitting around doing nothing when you don't need them, is really. It works really well for a smaller organisation.
And again, it's funny, this, and I don't expect you to comment on this at all. But one of the things I was saying, that in my time as a corporate manager, one of the things that HR spent a lot of time doing was justifying themselves. So when you don't ask them to do anything, they'll find something to do to justify themselves and send you a load of procedures and rules and all that kind of stuff. So you're absolutely right. One of the nice things about not having an HR department, or having an HR department, we do have an HR department, it's just you. But we don't have to put up with all your nonsense when we don't need it. We only ring you up or email you. We never ring. We don't ring, Bert. No, we don't ring.
Ring us. We like phone calls.
We
like
don't
phone
ring.
calls at Outset.
We don't ring. We contact you when we need you, and when we need your advice and support.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when things might be a bit difficult, or you want to change something, or you want to do something a bit different, and that's a lot of the SMEs. People set those businesses up. They've come from corporates. They've got certain ideas about how they want to do things. That might not always work for a 10-man company, a 10,000-man company. So it's trying to translate some of those things that they want to do in a way that works for them.
Absolutely. And there's so many things going on, as business people, we lament this all the time. And I'm not going to have another rant. Oh, okay, I will. No, I'm not going to have another rant about it, but the budget was an absolute fiasco this week. It's an absolute fiasco. For something as insipid as the budget was, the politicians once again have managed to screw the whole thing up. I mean, this whole thing over at NIC is a disaster. But outside of that, and again, I don't expect you to comment this is my opinion, but the politicians and HMRC have been conducting a massive clampdown on self-employed people. They don't actually like self-employed people, which is a bit of a shame because we're the only people running the economy at the moment. So if they get rid of us, they're in big doo-doo. But anyway, they don't like self-employed people. And one of the things that has been a clampdown is IR35, and they've tightened up the rules on that. So again, there's been loads of changes just recently. We counted, there's been 19 employment changes that are due to be implemented in the next 3 months, on top of everything we've got already.
Yeah. There's some big stuff coming through that they're trying, that they've done in the public sector, and now they're trying to push on to different businesses, and the rules are all slightly different. You have to really understand it, because if you haven't looked at it and decided, yes, we need to do that, our pay bill is this, or our headcount is that, and you don't do it, you could really be in some hot water.
Absolutely. And it's really easy to fall foul of a lot of this because even HMRC don't actually understand. It's not as if there's a preset rule, is there? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of it is opinion. It's, are you employed? Well, what counts as an employee? Well, can I order you what to do? Mm-hmm. Well, yes, because one of the laws is if you work on a construction site, for instance, by law, I have to tell you what the health and safety rules are. Oh, well, you're employed then. So that anybody that walks onto my site is immediately employed because I told them the health and safety rules. It's ridiculous. So that's where a company like yours helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of the startups in Kent at the moment are their digital media, their IT. They use a lot of contractors because as they're growing, they're not sure where their business is coming from. So absolutely. To be able to have a contractor for 6 months for a particular project is really, really helpful. These people will start to put their rates up because they've got to pay more tax, and it starts becoming counterproductive to business. And that's why I get very frustrated. I won't rent either, but I deal with a lot of people that are worried about this IR35 thing.
Absolutely, it can massively upset what you're trying to do. And one of the things that people never realise when they mess around with these kind of rules is there's only one person that ever pays this. You hear so many people demanding that other people's tax is put up. But at the end of the day, there's only one person that ever pays, and that's the customer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Eventually, all price rises go back to the customer. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business. So if you demand that I pay more tax, it's actually you that's going to pay it because I'm just going to put it on my prices. Absolutely. So we could have a nice joint rant here, but we won't, Fiona. So give us a bit of background to you now, Fiona. So how long have you been with Outset? What's your history? How did you get to where you got to?
So I've been with Outset about 6 years. I went in as a consultant. I then seemed to pick up other bits of business that began to report to me. So I have a recruitment team.
Bit of empire building going on there. Okay.
Absolutely. I have a recruitment team that report to me. I have the advice service. That, I think, is our jewel in our crown, so I need to be a bit careful. I'm a bit partial to them. They are the team that, when you've got a problem, you ring up. Bill's just hit Bob in the warehouse. What do I do?
Yeah.
Okay, go suspend Bill, use these words, and ring me back. Now you need a letter. And we hold people's hands all the way through that process. We keep them safe.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
For small business employers, it's really scary. You hear so many scare stories about things that happen in the workplace that, quite frankly, aren't the employer's fault, really. People have done things to other people, but you're responsible because they're your employees, and it's scary.
Yeah. And that service is a retained service, so you pay an amount every month and you have unlimited access. So those people will be there for you with taking you through, jumping the hoops, dodging the burning tyres, all of the silly rules that we have to follow. They will support you all the way through that to whatever your outcome is, whatever you want to achieve with that person.
Absolutely.
I have HR consultants who can parachute in and run a project for you or help you with something that you want to do around a change. So we have different slices of people and that can come in, and we all support a business to achieve what they want to achieve without having to employ us.
A full-time person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would it be true to say that the vast majority of personnel-type issues, people issues, come down to the process by which you handle them?
I think that's where the risks are. That's where the risks are. If you've got a process written down and then you don't follow it, that's where they'll get you at tribunal, even if what you've actually done is right.
Yeah. Sure.
If you haven't followed the proper process, that's where the lawyers get involved, and that's where the lawyers make their money. But if you have someone that you can talk to, some of those burning hoops you can hop over if that's what you want to do, if you want to take a little bit of a risk.
Right. Okay.
So it is about process, and it's about being as compliant as you can. Outset can provide you with policies that are current. And when I worked in-house, the thing I hated doing was keeping policies up to date. We do that for you. We do the maintenance. So you automatically get a new policy when the law changes. So that's a really handy thing for a small business. Companies start businesses to do the thing that to make kitchens, to do holiday lets. You don't want to keep up with what's the latest on grandparent leave. But if we can do that for you, then you don't have to worry about it. It's one thing you don't have to worry about.
I have told this story before, so I forgive me for those people that are bored with hearing this story, but it is my HR story. Before I engaged you guys to help me, I employed someone, and they've been working for me for a couple of weeks, and they rang me up and they said, I've been reading my contract of employment, and I'm, uh-oh.
Wow, no one does that.
No one does that. And he went, in there, it says about the company's social media and internet usage procedure. I go, yeah. He said, well, what is it? I went, well, it's in the supplement. He said, but there's no supplement. I went, ah. So I went to my office manager and I went, where's the supplement on this? And they went, don't know, never seen it. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we didn't actually have one. We got a contract from off the internet or something, just copied it, and it said this in it.
That's what most companies do.
Yeah.
They pull one from where they used to work, change the names, cut and paste, find and replace, and that's what they have no idea what they're getting signed up for. And you know, if I had a friend that was starting a business and they had £1,000 to spend, I'd say spend it on a decent contract because everything else runs from that. That's what keeps you safe. We have a product specifically for smaller businesses called Primed, and it's all packaged up. So you get a bit of advice, you get your contracts, you get some business advice, and it's a monthly payment per head, and that stuff's all done for you. You've got it all, and you're safe.
Employing your first person is the biggest step for a business, you know, because it normally means you've got to a size where you've got to get somebody else in.
You've run out of family.
Absolutely, and friends, but more than that, it's a massive step. It takes you in a completely new set of dimensions, does it not?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So it's really important, and so many people, you're right, Fiona, so many people skimp that. It's like insurance, isn't it?
And hopefully you never need it. It's
exactly.
in a drawer, you never need to look at it. But it's when it goes wrong, that's when you look at it.
And that's why I always say to people, they go, well, it's expensive having that done. I say, so's insurance. And insurance is it's of no benefit to you until something goes wrong. And then it's worth every penny you've ever spent. But if nothing ever goes wrong in your life, you're going to look back and go, oh, I wish I'd never bothered. But hey, you know, unless you've got a crystal ball, you can't do anything about that. So it is money well spent. So those are the kind of services you offer. I want to. You're based in Maidstone.
We are.
Yeah.
It's Maidstone Studios.
At TV studios, aren't you?
Studios,
Really special. Do you cover any particular geographic area, or will you kind of work anywhere?
No, we have clients that are nationwide. Our clients tend to be in the southeast. I've got some clients in London, but generally Kent, Surrey, Sussex. It works well for us that we work locally because one of the things that we can do, we can advise on a process. Someone's got a disciplinary hearing or something like that. Sometimes people will say, well, could you come and help me? So we can send somebody down to actually run the process. So generally speaking, we're Kent, Surrey, Sussex based. And that works really well because you get to know your clients. You can get to the point where you can say, do you know what? Over the last 6 months, you've had a lot of the calls you've been making to us, they're about absence. Do you want to think about how you manage the absence? Because maybe we can start being a little bit proactive with clients and start to support them. And we get right in there and understand what's going on. So, mainly locally.
Cool. I want to talk about a slightly different part of your business now, and I know you do this, and it's obviously something that's close to my heart that I'm going to have a bit of a rant about in a minute. But you help people with the recruitment process as well. And as someone that owns a recruitment portal, I'm fully aware...
Which we use.
Yeah. Mutual appreciation slightly. Recruitment is one of the things that's done the worst by British business.
Absolutely.
Bar none. And that's not just small businesses, but big businesses too. And it never ceases to amaze me the ridiculous things that people do in job ads and the ridiculous things that people put in job ads. From your point of view, what kind of things, how do you help? Okay. If someone comes to you and says, look, I need to recruit some staff, what do you do?
So our recruitment team is not a traditional agency. We work with our clients. We're almost an in-house recruiter outsourced.
Yep,
That's
I
a
get that.
possible
Yep,
thing.
yep.
So we will look at their process.
Yep.
We'll look at how are you interviewing? What are your job descriptions looking like? Your job description is not the same as an advert. Your advert is a sell. Your job description is about what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And we'll actually help them through all of that process, set up their process for them. And you know what? Once you've made the offer, and this is one of the things I'm going to be talking about at the Grow Kent conference. So
Right.
I'm talking about it's all about the talent, finding them and keeping them. It's much, much more expensive to find a new person. You've got to perhaps pay fees. You've got all the time for interviewing. Why don't you just concentrate on keeping the people you've got?
Yeah, sure.
And how you do that.
And developing the people you've got.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm passionate about this. Way back in the 1840s when I left university, I started working for a recruitment agency. And I worked for a really good one. In the 90s, I worked for Manpower, and they taught me a lot. And they taught me about getting the best from your people. And I'm absolutely passionate about that. So, yes, I too are very upset when I see the way that people interview. We had a situation recently where a candidate said to us that they'd walked out of an interview. The guy hadn't even shaken his hand at the end. Right. People they're hard to find at the moment. The market is really
very
tight.
difficult. Very
so
difficult.
if you screw it up, they won't come.
Yep.
Their friends won't come.
Yep.
And it will have an impact on your business if you don't do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to throw my tuppence worth into that, because you're absolutely right, hiring people is really tough at the moment. We have a massive skill shortage in this country. 756,000 unfilled job vacancies at the moment, on queue to create another million jobs and no one to fill them. One of the things that I see more than anything, and you made reference to it, Fiona, which is lovely, is that you have a job description and so many people try to use that as an advert, and it isn't. There's no reason why I'm going to apply for a job that's just a job description. You've got to tell me why I should want to work for you.
Sell it.
And you've got to sell it, and people don't understand that, especially in this day and age.
There was an article recently about a guy who had accidentally, on Monster or somewhere like that, released his CV to the market, and he'd had 72 contacts by 10:30.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Senior IT person, but these people are in great demand.
Yeah.
If you don't do it quickly and well, they won't choose you.
Absolutely.
And that is a really key thing at the moment. People got to get their process right and sorted before they go live. But also, they're coming. Right? They're going to spend a month at their old company. Who are going to try and keep them? Keep in contact with them. It's easy these days. Social media makes it easy. Invite them in for a team lunch. Get them to know people.
Sure.
And day one, remember they're coming. Don't spend that day with your kids. Be in there. Organise it. That's really important.
I saw a company, and they did something really simple, but I thought, how good is that? I haven't worked for other people for a long time, but when I did, and you started a new job, it was always the same. What this lot did is when you arrived, your desk was completely set up. It had pens and paper, and your phone worked.
Thing at the moment,
yeah,
isn't it?
And your PC was there with a log on and everything. Whereas, in the past, you start and people go, right, well, you can't do anything until we got you a log on. That'll take a week. And then, if you go down to the stores and get yourself a pencil and stuff like that.
I've had a manager say to me before, well, we're not going to organise any business cards for the new sales guy because he might not work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you spent £5,000 on recruiting him. You won't spend 30 quid on a packet of business cards.
Cards. Ridiculous.
If you don't think he's right, don't hire him.
Yeah, exactly. People are going to, I'm glad you mentioned it, people can hear you again.
Yes.
After the show, because you're going to be speaking at the Grow Kent conference in Canterbury at the cricket club there.
Very early.
What time are you on?
Breakfast.
Oh, you're doing the breakfast one.
Yes.
Cool. But they can hear you at the breakfast.
Absolutely.
7:30.
Yes.
22nd of March.
Yes.
Spitfire Ground. Do come along. And your talk is?
It's all about the talent, finding and keeping people in a tight market. So it's that thing about, we're not in a recession anymore. You can't spend weeks between interviews. You've got to do it quickly. And if they can't make it the next day, somebody else will have Skyped, interviewed and offered them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then what do you do to keep your own people that you've already got? So that's really the crux of it.
Fantastic. So do come along and listen to Fiona with some fantastically useful advice. If you're running a business, hiring people, or in fact, changing jobs even.
Yeah.
Fiona, thank you so much for joining us on the Business Monk Show. Been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. If people want to find out more about Outset, how can they do that?
Okay, so look on the website, www.outsetuk.com. That's not right, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
www.outsetuk.com.
Yes.
But your Twitter handle has got an @ in it.
Okay.
Outset UK is what it is. I know that because I've been tweeting it like mad all week. Yeah.
Yeah. Come and have a look at what we do. We're running some training courses at the moment. I'd love people to have a look at those. Let us help you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Fiona. Do stay with us for the rest of the show. But for the moment, Fiona Mason of Outset UK, HR consultants and specialists. And do check their website out. I'll tell you what, Bird.
Yeah.
You can do a tweet or an email.